I didn't know how to talk to them about it because the reaction would have been to say you deserve it because you didn't bring your homework, and you don't want that kind of reaction from them, so I didn't tell them. But over the next 2 years until I went to secondary school, which is high school if you're in the US, I got bullied. I got made fun of for the incident in 10. And it wasn't a nice 2 years or my final 2 years in school. And I had to deal with it all myself. And at the same time as well, I was starting to realize that I wasn't straight, that I was attracted to other genders as well. I remember a guy flirting with me, and I was uncomfortable in the sense that this wasn't what I was taught, and I was enjoying and enjoying the attention, but I was uncomfortable because I grew up thinking that this was wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then also because we would take trips to like around Asia, like Thailand, Philippines, and all that, right? I saw my first trans woman, and to me, I felt like, they are so beautiful. And the question that I was asking myself was like, what can I do to be like them, right? And again, that was something that I was not, it wasn't something that I was used to because
Mm-hmm.
I only known two genders, men and women. So all that and being bullied, I had to bury it down.
Welcome to your Wordless podcast, the space where we redefine success, self-worth, and transformation. I am Nierras, the soul-centered architect of transformation, helping you unlock your highest potential and build a legacy beyond limits. Now, whether it is self-mastery, career breakthroughs, or world creation, this is where change begins. Now let's dive in.
Thank you, Nico.
Oh my God. Okay, Sean. First off, I'd like to take my guest and my speaker, my audience, a trip down memory lane. Can you first share with us what was it like growing up as a Shawn Lim?
Yeah, great place to start. So I grew up as firstly, I grew up Asian. I grew up into a Christian household. So these two things are really like very conservative, right? So my entire childhood was, going to church, being taught, there's only one way of relationships, which is between a man and a woman, and obeying authority and all that. But that all changed when I turned 10, when I was at 10 years old in Singapore. So in Singapore, when you're 10, you're primary 3, which means you're primary school. Up to that point, I have been like the goody two shoes kind of a boy. And I was always in the shadows. I didn't want to be in the spotlight. Like anything I did, I would be, at the back. Or don't be the first to raise my hands, right? Because I didn't want any attention on myself. But
Mm.
that on one fine day, in primary school at 10 years old, I forgot to bring my homework. So my teacher, she was angry because there were quite a number of us that didn't bring, and she asked us all to stood up. And the first person she scolded was me, and she was screaming and shouting at me. And I got so afraid because up to that point, I've been, a good boy, right? So I wasn't like in trouble or anything. And that was the first time I got in trouble. So I got so afraid that I started peeing my pants. And what didn't help was my neighbor next to me, he started shouting to the teacher that I was peeing my pants. And in Singapore at that point of time, um, class sizes are like 40 people. So 40 people started to look at me, and I was so embarrassed and I was so vulnerable. It was my first time feeling so vulnerable. And, growing up, as I said, being in a Christian Asian household, my parents, they just clothed me, fed me, put a roof under my head, but they didn't create an emotional connection with me, which meant
Mm.
I didn't have a safe space to tell them what I was feeling, right? So when that happened, I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to talk to them about it because the reaction would have been to say you deserve it because you didn't bring your homework, and you don't want that kind of reaction from them. So I didn't tell them. But over the next 2 years until I went to secondary school, which is high school if you're in the US, I got bullied. I got made fun of for the incident in 10. And it wasn't a nice 2 years or my final 2 years in school. And I had to deal with it all myself. And at the same time as well, I was starting to realize that I wasn't straight, that I was attracted to other genders as well. I remember a guy flirting with me, and I was uncomfortable in the sense that this wasn't what I was taught, and I was enjoying and enjoying the attention, but I was uncomfortable because I grew up thinking that this was wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then also because we would take trips to like around Asia, like Thailand, Philippines, and all that, right? I saw my first trans woman, and to me, I felt like, they are so beautiful. And the question that I was asking myself was like, what can I do to be like them, right? And again, that was something that I was not, it wasn't something that I was used to, because
Mm-hmm.
I only known two genders, men and women. So all that and being bullied, I had to bury it down.
Are you stuck in a job that you don't love, feeling like you're meant for more? It is not in your head, it is in your soul. I am Nierras, and I help high achievers like you break free from burnout, rewire self-doubt, and build a life aligned with purpose through coaching, hypnotherapy, and soul activation. Because let's face it, real wealth isn't just about money, it is about a aligned and happy heart, mind, and soul. Now, remember, you are worthy and you are enough. Let's transform your life together. Visit www.thenierrasholisticlifestyle.com to begin.
So when I started high school, I I decided that to hide all this, I had to become tougher, which meant that I became the bully instead. I started to put on a mask. I started to become the alpha male in school, try to be the most masculine guy in school, toxic masculinity. And I went around like beating people up, smoking, trying to be, the most badass person that they can see, hung around gangsters and all that. But all this led me down the path of being arrested at 15 for planning a gang fight, because me and my friends, we were bored of, making trouble in school, right? So we're like, okay, let's go out and create trouble.
And take it to the next level.
The next level. So, unfortunately for me, and fortunately for me now, we got caught. And I remember there was 14 of us. On the day that we were supposed to show up, one of them didn't show up. So I'm guessing that we were, ratted out by this person. So
My God.
we all got arrested. I was thrown into the lockup in the police station. I remember it was very cold. They kept me overnight. They didn't allow me to wear my spectacles. And I couldn't see anything, and occasionally throughout the night they would take me out to question. But the next morning when my father came to pick me up, he was so angry with me. He didn't even ask me what happened or why and all that. He was silent on the way home for the 45 minutes ride. And when I got home, because I was still in school at a point of time, right? So uh, it was already 9, 10, so I missed school for that day. But so my parents went to work and I was alone at home. And it, it suddenly dawned on me that because I've been pretending to be someone that I wasn't, that I've been in this trouble now, and I couldn't really find a way that I could change because I was still in the same school, same environment. And because we were living on a ninth floor at that point of time, and I thought to myself, what if I ended things now? Because I have no one to speak to. I didn't know who I can share this. Why I'm doing all this, right? I couldn't share it. But obviously I didn't do it. But that moment taught me that I needed to be tougher. Kind of rightly or wrongly, it told me that I needed to be tougher because I was thinking of ending my life. But you know, yeah, so I continued down the same path, and then I was arrested again.
Oh,
This time,
the second time.
yeah, and I so funny. So what the thing was, because I was arrested at 15, right? My punishment was to be, as one of the mastermind. My punishment was to be sentenced to a month in juvenile home.
Mm.
Then 18 months of supervised probation, which meant that I had to go for counseling, I had to be home at certain time of the day. But the experience didn't really the experience. I thought it gave me like street cred, like oh look at me, I'm even tougher now. Nobody can guess that I'm
You
actually
wore it like your badge of honor. Like,
yeah
look
yeah.
at me. I'm now,
Had to
yeah.
continue down the path,
Uh,
and at 16 I got arrested again for. So this was just less than a year later. I got arrested again for stealing in school. At 16 in Singapore, you can be charged as an adult already. At 15, I was still a teenager, right? So at 16, you can be charged as an adult. I fortunately for me, I had a probation officer who was really concerned for me. So he fought for my case in front of this time it was the adult court, so it was a subordinate court in Singapore. And he fought for my case to, not to send me to prison, but to continue on another few months of probation. And the judge reluctantly agreed with him, and she sentenced me to another like 15 months of probation. So after she sentenced me, I had to wait for my parents to bail me out from the court. And
right.
while waiting for them, I was placed in a holding cell. This was like 20 people, a lot of people that had do different various criminal offenses. And my friend, who was literally also my partner in crime, right? He went around networking with people. So he was like talking to them like, what do you do? What can we learn from each other? Where can we meet outside? That kind of thing. But for me, because I was pretending to be someone I was not, right?
Yeah.
So I just felt like very uncomfortable because I was looking at my future in 5 years if I didn't change. To be like these people who were in and out. It obviously wasn't their first time. So to me, like if I didn't change, this was my future. And one moment stuck in my mind was there was this guy, because there were people there who couldn't find someone to bail them out, right? And court officials would give them like telephone calls to call people to come and bail them out. But there was this guy, he was shouting the phone, and I couldn't hear the conversation he had, but he was cursing his parents. So he was obviously talking to his parents and he was saying like, why don't you come and pick me up? Like all the vulgarities and everything. To me, it showed me that whoever who it was on the other line had given up on him. And I felt like, if I continued on this path of pretending to be someone I was not, it wasn't going to be worth it if people gave up on me. And I decided that I was going to start, changing. After I got out of there, I was still in the same environment in school, right? And I really didn't know what I was going to do to change, because at 16, you have peer pressure, and you really can't say no to your friends. And there was one moment in school, at 16 that my discipline master of the school, he walked past me one day and was like, Shawn, let's have a chat. And usually when he says that, I'm
You're in trouble.
but this
Yes.
time I wasn't in trouble, and he was having a serious talk with me. And I was saying, the first question he asked me was like, do you want to change? Do you intend to continue doing this? And I was like, no, but I don't know how to, what can I do? And he was why don't you, after 16, because in Singapore we have N levels and O levels, right? So N level, if I pass, I'll move on to O levels. So he was like, why don't you finish your N levels, finish this half year in school, leave school. Don't stay in the same environment. Go and take your O level as a private candidate, or go to the Institute of Technical Education. So it's like an pre-university kind of school in Singapore where you learn technical skills. So I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And for the first time in 4 years, I actually listened to him. So after N level, I left school. And fortunately for me, I did that because my friends who remained in the school, they got into even more trouble after that.
Oh, yeah.
With the
Oh.
prison.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I was at crossroads at then, and I chose the correct path. And I was thankful for that. And when I went to the IT, the Institute of Technical Education, I finally found friends that were truly concerned for me, and helped me to appreciate my self-worth, right? Helped me to start this journey of self-acceptance, self-love, and self-healing as well. And I continued down, but I didn't address my own sexuality, my gender identity, and all that as well, because I wasn't ready to do that. I needed to forgive myself for being someone that I wasn't first before I could start addressing that. And I only started addressing my gender and my sexual identity after I left NS, because in Singapore, men,
Yeah, you guys are mandatory, like Koreans.
yeah.
Yes.
So after NS, I started to explore my sexual identity. So I went out with gender, so women, men, non-binary people, trans people, just to not just have to have fun, but to also understand what they were going through, what they are going through, and how I identify with it. Because I had a lot of things I needed to learn, and in terms of being queer, right? So that helped me to continue on. And it wasn't only until I met my girlfriend, then my wife, that I came out to her after we dated for a while, that I wasn't straight, and she was perfectly fine with that. I thought it would end up a relationship, but she was fine with that. So we dated for 3 years. We got married in the pandemic, so we got married in 2020, and we had our first kid 3 years ago in 2022. And when I became a parent, because even after I came out to her, I wasn't out publicly yet.
Hi, I'm Nierras, your host of the Your Wordless podcast. Now, if these real raw stories hit home, don't wait. Please follow, like, and subscribe my Spotify and YouTube. For bite-sized inspirational reels, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't wait. Your transformation starts today. Thank you, and bye for now.
And it wasn't something that I was also prepared to do, even though I was really comfortable in my own skin. But when I became a parent, I wanted to, as I thought of how I wanted to raise my daughter, right? I didn't want her to go through what I did, in the sense that there's no safe space, there's no emotional connection that she would feel comfortable telling me things when she gets older. And I realized that if I want her to live her own authentic self, appreciate her own body, personality and everything, I needed to do that myself. I needed to show her that I was doing it. So I started to prepare to come out. And I did this through volunteering for a lot of the queer organizations in Singapore, like Pink Dot, which is the annual Pride rally in Singapore. And yeah, so I came out last year in May on my birthday, and
Congratulations.
I told my wife first that I was going to do it publicly, and then I told my ex colleagues that I was going to do it. And then I chose LinkedIn. So I decided that LinkedIn was the best platform for me to do it, because it would have the least amount of trolls compared to Facebook,
Instagram.
Talk. Yeah,
People
so
are more professional on
correct.
LinkedIn.
You are
Yeah.
competing with your clients, your colleague, your boss.
Yes.
So, people can see what you're doing, right? So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn is the best platform for me to do it. So I came out on LinkedIn, and because I s- I understood that my sexuality is pansexual. So pansexual means that I'm attracted to all genders. So I came out on my birthday, because also 4 days later it was going to be Pansexual Day of Visibility. So I was like, okay, very very nice timing. So I came out on I posted my post on LinkedIn, and I logged out. I turned on notifications. I didn't I
I
didn't
do that
see
too. The
notifications.
first time
Yeah, so I post, and then I just
you like
posted.
you left it, yeah. You threw your phone.
But over the next few days, I got a lot of messages from people that I know, and people that I haven't spoken to in a while, that
Mm.
were just very supportive, that they told me that they love me for who I am. They support me whatever, regardless of whatever I identify with. So it was very heartwarming. And that gave me the courage to go back in to, you know, read all the comments and see all the likes, and it was truly a nice feeling to see all these supportive comments. And then I posted on Instagram and Facebook after that. And thankfully it's the same result. And after that, because I always push it down, right? My sexuality, my gender identity. And now that I've addressed my sexuality, the next step I told my wife was I'm gonna start addressing my gender identity, because I always had that feminine side of me that I always push it down because of what society tells us boys shouldn't do when I was younger, right? Like you shouldn't be, affectionate, you shouldn't cry, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. The only girls do that. You should wear pink. I don't play with dolls. So all that, right? And I push it down. So now that oh, I, my sexuality has been addressed, I decided that this was time for me to do it as well. So I started to wear skirts, wear dresses, and yeah, explore makeup. My wife was very supportive of that as well. Like she does my makeup sometimes. And we go to Sephora to buy skincare.
That was my next question. Do you guys go to Sephora together?
Yeah,
I
yeah, we
suppose.
got together. And now we talk about, what moisturizer we're gonna use for our face,
As you're talking.
sunscreen. Yeah, my skincare routine is longer now, but I enjoy it.
I
Yeah,
mean, it shows you look fresh and vibrant. I love it.
and it's but I think my fashion sense and my wife's fashion sense is a bit different. So I don't usually wear her clothes because I love like crop tops and all that. And she's more like, shirts and more like professional style, I would say.
Uh-huh.
But I'm I like to show some skin. And I'm the kind of girl that I like to show some skin. So I'm like, okay, we shop differently. Maybe sometimes we share clothes as well, but it's been a experience to do that. And also obviously it comes with challenges, right? So now when I use the bathroom, it's challenging because I'm very
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable that I to use the male bathroom, to continue using the male bathroom, but men in there sometimes are not very comfortable with that, and then there's cleaners that try to on good intentions try to chase me up to say that, oh, you're in the wrong toilet.
Right.
And then whenever I walk out of the bathroom as well, like if someone would come in, they would check the sign. You can see me, they check the sign.
Is this the right one?
Yeah, but I'm also very conscious that I'm not a woman. And it's a challenge in that sense to freely use the women bathroom, right? Because I'm conscious that there might be women who are not comfortable with other genders in the bathroom with them. So yeah, I try to use the accessible toilet as much as possible. Mm.
Okay, Shawn, I just want to say that I am very, very inspired by you. I knew this was going to be a bomb interview just because on the fact that, number one, the fact that you came out, I was scrolling on my feed and I saw you with tattoos and all, with crop top. I'm like, damn, excuse my language. I have to get him on my show. And hearing your story, before this interview, I was listening to your interview with Michelle O'Brien. And so I kind of knew a bit of your background. And when you said about you peeing on class, that brought up a memory in me that because, okay, for me as Asian, we were brought up by Asians, so Asian parenting, right? Do everything, get the A's, get the grades and whatnot, right? So same, my dad taught that to my sister and I. And I strive to become the best kid in school. So I did because the narrative that was placed upon me was only then you can be successful.
Yeah.
Which is not true. And I learned that later in life in the hard way. So since I was a kid, so at this time I was so compliant to my teacher that I wanted to actually I had stomach ache at the time. And I was so compliant that the teacher said, finish your work before and you cannot go to toilet. Actually, I shed in my pants. And
No.
I was so. This is the first time me coming out. Okay, so I want to thank you, Shawn, for.
But you haven't told this.
Never. No, I kind of. I mean, not that I'm embarrassed about it, but the
Okay.
fact that I am very open about it right now
Yeah.
is because I'm not the only one, and I've felt that part of myself. So that point, I remember I was holding it in, and I went to the toilet, and because I went to a convent school, so it was really old school in Sabah and quite creepy. And so after I couldn't hold it, so I went, and then my friend's mom saw me, and she had to help me clean up. And
Okay.
that's when that that was when as a kid, I was only 7. I thought to myself, okay. Then I started putting restriction that, oh, I must plan out when I want to go to toilet, or else I'll be in trouble. So I started putting restriction. I started putting myself in a box. On top of that, my dad, be studying, and of course, I am part of who I am right now is because of him. I love him very much, but he only knew what he knew then. He in this lifetime, that's his first time becoming a parent. So I see where he's coming from right now. And I understand that. But what I'm trying to say here is my self-worth I used to place on external achievement, because I simply, like you said, the self-worth part is because I didn't love myself enough, and I waited for somebody. So that carried on with me in my working years. Right now, I just moved from a 9 to 5 to my own business. So that's why I can connect as well. Still building, and my I think my truest battle with identity was when I got divorced in 2019.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you. But that had to happen for me to really, for my new self to break open.
Okay.
Actually, I wouldn't say it's new self, but it was the self that I was trying to suppress for the longest time. I knew I was this outgoing, but when I'm like this, people around me couldn't stand it, in the sense that, oh, why is Nicolette too loud, or why is she thinking very differently? So I've bought into the narrative, and fast forward, right now I'm speaking to, I it's like the universe said, okay, you want to do things your way first. Okay, I'll let you do it, but until this point, there's no way of hiding anymore. I'm gonna push you out. So it did push me out by laying me off from my job, and I had no way to turn back. There's no way, like, my soul would want to join corporate, at least at this point. I love business. So, but I think the point that I want to make here, second point, is that being authentic is the only thing you can be.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I wanna thank you, Shawn, for paving the way. I know this is a very exciting time for you. And get me. My friends, so Sabah, so I'm from Sabah, right? The east coast of Malaysia. And I went to KL to studies because that's where the opportunities are. Most of my friends, I'm very gay male friends, but gay men are actually they flock towards me, like, and I've become very good friends with them. And I asked my friend this because after the divorce, I thought I was too masculine. Because at the time, my partner was a little bit on the feminine side. So I thought that I was too masculine, and I was emasculating him.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I asked my friend, he's gay. So he said, babe, I asked you, babe, is it because I'm not feminine enough? That's why, men are not, forthright with me. I said, no, Nick. You know why gay men love you? Because you enable them. You let them be yourself. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually,
beautiful.
yeah, I love it. And most of my friends, they cannot understand it, why I have all these friends, and I love them very much. I mean, they're the truest people. I mean, there's some are nasty, okay, but then you learn to scan them.
Yeah.
But I just thought that I should share with you my own journey about self-worth and being authentic as well.
I love that.
Thank you, Shawn. Okay, so in the introduction, you were formerly a journalist, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us. What was it like being a journalist and at the same time balancing this sexuality discovery of yours?
I guess being a journalist, people think it's all about writing, but I think 90% of being a journalist is listening. And you need You need to be able to listen to someone's story before you can ask the right questions. And I think having the feminine side in me has helped me to do that. Being a listening ear like you, like I think I really identify with that. And just being someone who can hear their story, empathize with them, and then ask the right questions. That has been very helpful for me in my job. And even now, like I'm a content creator now, and I still function like a journalist in that sense because I'm still telling stories on my platform, which Human Algorithm is, and my podcast, where I get founders, solopreneurs, creators to share their personal struggles. And I just listen and I just ask them the right questions so that it gives them a safe space to share with me. Yeah, so that is how it's helped me.
You mentioned about your beautiful daughter
Mm-hmm.
and your lovely, lovely, supportive wife. So
Mm.
talk to us about them, Sean. Like, yeah, I just want to hear about them.
Yeah, so my daughter, she's neurodiverse. She's 3, but she's non-verbal, so she, other than like grunting, she hasn't said any words yet. So we got her checkup last year in June on her 2nd birthday because we were concerned about that. And doctor was agreed that there was cause for concern. So we went for the tests and all that, and the therapist told us that she might be on the autism spectrum. That was very hard to take because me and my wife, we haven't encountered this before as first time parents, right? So there were a lot of tears. There was a lot of crying in terms of what's next, whether she will be able to fend for herself in the future. So we started therapy with her at the start of this year. It's still ongoing. We've seen some progress, but I think now at 3 and maybe next year at 4 as well, we are deciding if we want to get her officially diagnosed. Um, because it would kind of alter her path because it's almost like having a criminal record in a sense. Like if you get diagnosed as being on the spectrum, you probably can't go into mainstream schools. You probably
Oh.
only go into special ed because
Mm-hmm.
there are still some neurodiverse kids that thrive in mainstream school. But it depends on whether the schools want to accept them or not. Yeah, so
Oh.
it's been a challenge to deal with that. For me and my wife, she's a photographer. She takes photos of newborn babies and corporate photos. Yeah, so that's us. We are both like creative in that sense.
I love that. I followed your wife just few minutes ago before we got to the interview. Okay. We're gonna dive into the queer community, okay, and what you see. Because I'm sure you've been you sort of hid behind the closet, but right now you're out in the open, right?
Mhm.
And I'm sure you've done studies, you've seen people around the world. So what are the misconceptions, number one, about the queer community in the world, and secondly in Asian, predominantly Singapore right now?
Yeah. So I would say generally the misconception is that every one of us has the similar experiences or similar background because there's it's LGBTQIA plus and there's so many letters.
I know, right? LGBTQIA plus. That's 8 letters.
Everyone
Okay.
have different experience. The lesbians have different experience. The gays have different experience. And even if you ask your gay friends, most of them will not go through a similar thing. Like maybe the mental health struggle and coming out is similar in a sense, but all of them have different experiences. So it's hard to label everyone as, being the same in the community because all of us are so different. We are part of the same community, but we are so different at the same time. And I will always tell people, don't assume us because you can Google all day long, but Google or even now ChatGPT don't really understand what being queer is like. So you have to
Yeah.
ask the person. And I think I remember when I first came out and I first started wearing dresses and skirts, all my friends didn't dare to ask me what am I doing and all that kind of thing. I would appreciate if they ask me, but a lot of them asked my wife. So they went to my
Mm.
wife and they're like, are you okay with your husband wearing a dress? Are you okay with your husband wearing a skirt and putting on makeup? And she was like, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. Why don't you ask him yourself? Yeah. So it's like, you know, don't assume that it's everyone has similar experience. Like for example, I have a friend, his brother is transitioning, and me and my friend we haven't spoken in a while. But he saw my journey, he saw me sharing my story on Instagram and all that. He reached out to me and he asked me like, how can I support my brother? What can I do? What can you share in terms of support or all that? And that's the kind of thing you want to see or you want, right? Because you it's very simple, like I say, to Google it and all that, but what his brother is going through and what I'm going through is totally different. But if you ask someone who's been through it, that there's a lot of things that might be similar. So you can reach out to that. And recently there's a mother who reached out to me on LinkedIn as well. Her son
Out of nowhere, you don't know this person.
I get all these kind of messages a lot.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
her,
Okay.
her daughter is transitioning to a man, to a boy,
Mm-hmm.
and she has been very supportive. But she wanted to know how much more she can do, like in terms of being a parent of a queer child. What support she can get. She needs someone to talk to because she used to have a daughter. Now she has a son, so she has kind of lost her daughter. So she needs that kind of talk. And yeah, reaching out to people to talk to them, to ask them. These are very important steps. And to your other question about being in Singapore, right? I think we need more like gender inclusive spaces in Singapore, like where it's not just one gender can go there, one gender can go here. In terms of bathrooms or toilets, right? Because now people like me are using accessible toilets and we are fighting with the people with disabilities who are trying to use the toilet, right? So we need like accessible toilets that are gender neutral, more of it in Singapore. Mm,
Mm. But you're certainly making the stride, Sean, and I'm here to support you all the way.
yeah,
Okay. Why is it so important for us to be authentic? And how can we start doing that for those people that's tuning in right now? They said there might be listening. Sean, it's easy for Sean to say,
yeah,
but I am battling this right now. I am petrified that my parents, especially if a dad is from the military, right?
yeah.
It's like super hardcore. So,
When we talk about authenticity now, it's kind of an overused word in the sense that a lot of things that you see, especially on LinkedIn, is very surface level. Things like for example, I miss the bus. Yeah, and leadership lessons that I've learned from it, that kind of thing. You know, things people think that they are being authentic about, but it's not. It's identifying the struggles that you have and sharing them after you have processed them. Then you are able to be able to share the lessons that people can learn from it. Because I don't believe everybody has a perfect life, right? Like you definitely have a struggle, like whether you lost a client or whether you got laid off or you got rejected for a job. Those are struggles. And you know, being able to share that shows how authentic you are, because you might be a few steps ahead, like 5 steps ahead, but someone who's one step behind you or 2 steps behind you will have something to learn from you when you share that story. So now when I share things, I do it with the purpose that uh, a 13-year-old me would have needed to hear of when I was 13. Yeah, so and especially as people running our own businesses, right? Like people buy from people they trust. So if they don't trust you, and you're just sharing very surface level stuff, then you are not really building that trust with your clients, your potential clients. You are essentially leaving money on the table. So I think you need to build that connection, because when you think about it, why superheroes have origin stories, right? For example, like, do you identify with Spider-Man when he say he shoot webs and jump over buildings? Not really, because nobody else can do that. But when he talks about losing his uncle to robbery, and the struggle he faced growing up with his aunt, and how he, learned from that childhood, from the trauma of losing someone close to him without even knowing his parents, then people identify with that, because every one of us have parents, every one of us has uncles, or been a victim of crime before, right? So that is something that, you, as people who are founders, creators, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, need to do more. Not just, I think anybody can do it, because when you look at the Spider-Man movies, every time they come out with a new Spider-Man movie, it starts with the same story, because that identifies with people.
Resonating, finding a common denominator of what makes us human.
Correct. That's authenticity.
Spot on, Shawn. Thank you. Oh my God. Okay. Share with us about human algorithm
Yeah.
and your work.
Yeah. So when I started human algorithm, I was in a similar position with you. I had just been let go from my job. And so when I remember, I said, like, in June last year, my daughter was diagnosed with developmental delay, the possibility of autism. And I had just came out a month before, so I was dealing with that with my daughter.
Wow.
And then out of the blue, um, at work, because I had this colleague, she was very supportive of me coming out and all, but she started to see me as a threat when I started to present more feminine. And I recently heard this, like,
Oh my God.
humans are ally, right? And I think she started to see me as a threat. In a way, she influenced me to be put on a performance review. In the sense that my boss had to tell me that, your job is at stake, and it was out of the blue. That I wasn't doing anything like outrageously wrong or anything. And I didn't have the energy at the time to fight it, because I had to be concerned about my family, right? And I didn't want my wife to go through this alone. So but I still fought for my job, and I still passed that performance review. But at the end of the performance review, my ex-boss told me that I had to be demoted. I had to be uh he cut my salary, and then he put me on a 3 months probation again. And
What?
that made me very angry, because
Yeah.
it's like, what's all this? I passed, and then you still do this to me. But I didn't want to make a rash decision of quitting immediately, because firstly, I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of me to leave, right? Secondly, we haven't figured out what my daughter therapy look like. And then thirdly, I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. But I started to spend the next 3 months to think of, if I didn't have a 9 to 5, what would I do next? And because I started my career in advertising before I became a journalist, I've always been creating content, and it's something that I knew that even in the age of AI, we still need, because we still need that human touch, we still need human to tell stories. And it's like the common saying now, right? Like, you do not use AI, AI will replace the person that do not use AI, not you. So I figured that I needed to do something around, like, content creation, but not a 9 to 5, because I wanted to spend more time with my daughter as well. Because even when she go to therapy and when she comes back, we need to practice that with her. So after 3 months, sure enough, they called me in one day and they said, this is your workout, off you go. It's the last.
Oh my God.
I had to
Spare me the. I mean, not to.
yeah, I'm sorry, girl, that you're going through this again, but
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So it was like, that's it. That's your last day, and off you go, that kind of thing. And I remember very clearly, it was a Friday, and my ex-bosses told me that, oh, you take the weekend to think about it. And then Monday, if you want to come and talk to us, we are here for you. But
Talk what, bro?
I know, no thanks. I will talk about it for 3 months. I regret myself. Yeah, so I co- I composed myself for the next hour after I got the news. I knew it was coming, but I still had to. I was still like affected by it, right? So I composed myself for the next hour, and then I posted on LinkedIn that I had left, and I was going to start to do something that I knew that was going to help me with my daughter in a sense, but continue to tell stories as well. And the next day on a Saturday, I woke up to a lot of people messaging me for like job opportunities, or maybe like one-off projects. So there was a white paper that needed to be done by Friday, and it was like $3,000. You want to do it? I'm like, sure, I have time.
What?
An article, and then
Oh
like
my god.
consulting role for a UK firm who had Asian clients. So that gave me the foundation to build human algorithm. And I decided to use Substack to build human algorithm was because it allowed me to monetize my work and also to help me to gauge who wanted to pay for my work. Substack has this function called pledges, which allow people to pledge your pledge certain amounts to support you for your work, but they don't get charged for it yet. So I was like, I didn't know anything about personal branding at that point of time. Because I always been like promoting others, writing about others, right? And I didn't write a lot about myself. So I was like, okay, if I want to promote this, then I have to start sharing my story and
Mm-hmm.
my own journey. But I didn't know what I wanted to share. So I was sharing a lot of things. So I was like sharing my thoughts on marketing, advertising, gender equality, and also my own journey of coming out and my daughter's neurodiversity. But it was this last two, like my own journey and my daughter's story, that really resonated with a lot of people. I got, and within a month, I managed to get about 1K in people who were pledging to support my work. And that gave me the confidence to start building it up. And how I envision the platform is it's a love letter to my daughter, because when she grows older, if she's still non-verbal and she's still neurodiverse, right? Then if she has a hard day or if she's getting bullied, then I want her to come back to these stories that I'm writing, that I'm telling people about, that she will be able to know that, even if you are struggling, there is light in the tunnel, there is courage to carry on. And that's what my podcast is about as well, right? So I get founders or creators to share about things like their anorexia, their body issues, body image issues, mental health struggles, personal strategy. And essentially my daughter can go back and listen to this when she's older. Yeah, so that's that I always say, like, I always done things for a purpose, but now I'm doing things for a purpose for someone, which is for her, and leaving a legacy behind for her. Yeah.
You yeah, it is the best decision to get you on. I am moved. I just I just want to know, I just want you to know that I'll keep you and your family in prayers, and it's from here on, it's upward for all of you. And I wanted to go back to the part where you said about your insecure coworker, right? I remembered this. So the first, I guess the biggest turning point for me too was my divorce, number one, and then number two was the toxic environment that I had to leave. And this, I remember this person saying to me, my boss then, she said to me, I was preparing a presentation deck, and she was like, okay, uh what is this? She didn't say the word shit, but she said, what is this crap? I would never present this to any CEOs.
Yeah.
She said that to me, and I was like, okay. And then I started questioning my self-worth, because I was this A student. I mean, how can I not do anything right? Right? So I believed her then. Then the second one, then that started me to really look within, to detach myself from external that. Then the second part was the latest one that I got laid off from. So no animosity to be honest, no animosity towards all of them. Right now, I just want to radiate love, joy, and peace towards them. But this person, my bosses, then they said to me, they were restructuring and they said, okay, Nick, I think you're very much in the culture building. And we think that your role is no longer congruent to the job because we needed somebody more technical. But I mean, of course, that broke me because I was one of the pioneers and they let me go to basically to promote somebody else.
Okay.
So it's okay. That's okay. That's fine. But that pushed me to really go full out on my podcast. At this point, I have spoken to so many people all over the world. I've got friends. I went to the States last year and I made friends. I met some of them there.
Yeah.
And you know, right now speaking to you is also this. So I think the stars do align if you really just be yourself and nobody else, you know? So
Proud of you,
thank
girl.
you, Sean. Oh, thank you. I am proud of you too. Okay, so what's exciting for you? Any new project? Anything that you're working on currently?
Yeah, as part of my platform, right? Because when I started my platform, I shifted my mentality from being like a freelancer to being a solopreneur of business, right? And which meant that I had to build up my own personal brand and to get clients in. And so it's not just me telling stories also, but I also do it for my clients. So I do like coaching, I do ghostwriting, and then I also started my master class, which I teach people how to write vulnerably and authentically. And yeah, so that's ongoing at the moment. The last class is a 6 weeks course that ends on Monday, next Monday. And then I will prepare for the next cohort, which I aim in August. Yeah, so that's something that I'm doing. And then I also in Singapore, for example, I'm doing a lot of like collaboration with the creators or founders where we do community events. So there's one event next week that I'm speaking on that I've helped organize for like personal branding for creatives, especially in the economy right now for the people who are, you know, who are fear of being laid off or,
Yeah.
wanting to tell their own stories, right? So yeah, we're doing that.
Awesome. Okay, so Sean, we are going to pivot to a self-worth question. It's a very easy question. How do you define your self-worth now?
How do I define myself now?
Has it ever changed? If it never, yeah.
Change. Like I used to, when I was going through the phase when I was younger as a kid, I didn't think much of self-worth. Like it was like, you know, as long as I protected myself, it was, to me, that was self-worth. And being able to not have people guess who I was, who I really was, that was self-worth. But now that has changed because to me, self-worth now is that I love myself for who I am. I accept myself for who I am. And I don't live for the opinions of others in the sense that I'm being my own true self without saying what, without following what society says that I should do or, how should I behave, that kind of thing. Yeah.
You're making me emotional. Oh my God. Okay. What is your heart's greatest wish?
To hear my daughter's voice, I wish she would talk to me. Like one day, like I would hear a voice, to call me, Dada or whatever. And just to have a conversation with her. Yeah.
Sending much love and prayers to you and family. If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
Wow. Big question. A quote. Being someone you are not is not worth it.
How can people reach out to you, Shawn?
I guess follow me on Instagram, follow me on LinkedIn, and subscribe to my newsletter on Substack. That's where my podcast is as well.
Okay, Shawn, any last message before we wrap the interview up?
Thank you for having me. Like, I think we identify a lot in terms of our own struggles, in terms of, being laid off and all that. So yeah, it was nice for you to create a safe space for me to share.
No, thank you. Thank you for being you. Okay, that is a wrap on today's inspiring episode with Shawn Lim. Thank you, Shawn, for the work that you do, for continuing to uplift the world and others around you. For our listeners, this has been Your Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you've ever felt worthless, remember you are not alone. Your soul chose to be here, to matter. And for that reason alone, you are worthy. A huge thank you to you again, Shawn, and to all of you for listening. Until next time, I am Nicolette Nierras. Keep shining, keep growing, and always remember, you are worthy and you are enough. See you in the next episode. Thank you, Shawn, for your time.
Thank you.
Love this episode? Now, transformation doesn't end here. Head on to @holistic.lifestyle_with_Nick. That is on my Instagram. Or head on to my website, www.holisticlifestyle.com for more info on my coaching framework, which is the Worthy, Authentic, and Abundant Framework, digital guides, and my upcoming events such as retreats and master classes and workshops. Now, I also do intuitive readings where we get to check on your soul path. And if you're also wanting to check on your energetic alignment, I have done that too. And I offer that kind of services. So, my question to you is, are you ready? Because I am. Let's make your lives.
Shawn, good afternoon to you. How are you doing today?
Good. It's been a busy week for me because I've been on panels. This is my second podcast this week as a guest. And then I have like an event tomorrow as well where it's like a storytelling healing session where I'm co-leading it because it's Pride Month, so it's been quite busy for me.
Yeah, it's Pride Month. Well, happy Pride.
Thank you.
To all of you and to you as well, Shawn. Okay, Shawn, I'd like to say thank you too for responding to this anonymous message that I sent out. I never thought that you would say yes, though I mean we all need to take that chance, right? So I took a shot. So
I have a podcast myself, so I understand what it's like to reach out to people to get them as guests. So I'm happy to help. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to all of our listeners first by reading a bit of your introduction, and then I'm going to give the stage to you.
Okay.
So, hello everyone. We have Shawn Lim here with us. Shawn is a queer, gender fluid storyteller, parent to a neurodiverse daughter, and the founder of Human Algorithm, a one-person business built on the belief that stories create change. Now, Shawn uses he, she, they pronouns. Formerly a journalist and media editor, Shawn now coaches creators, solopreneurs, and founders to turn lived experiences into personal brands that connect and convert. Now, through content, masterclasses, and public speaking, Shawn advocates for LGBTQIA plus visibility, mental health equity, and authentic leadership, especially in conservative societies like Singapore, where he is based. Now, his work centers on one truth. If you don't tell your story, someone else will. Welcome to the show, Shawn.